Tee tee ha. I've been watching GameStop stuff all day. Not really. I've been out having fun, having a life, and just found a new car. But I have been watching what's been going on, and it's so great. For years, calling out stuff to people when they go, they wouldn't do that. Not they. Can you please describe who they are? You know, the system. And now we've seen a 70 billion loss. Now, let me explain to those that might not understand what's going on here, right? Every few years, we have a massive wealth transfer. That is when the market cycles. Oh, why should they cycle like a sine wave? Maybe it's connected to the universe. No, it's not. Everything's got a frequency. The universe has a frequency. Oh, wow, yeah, it's all spiritual like that. No, it's not. Those market cycles are intentional market cycles. I'm not saying that the Clinton creatures and stuff like that in the world don't run their lives based upon the star systems, the constellations. What I am saying is that everything that the markets are, including the crypto markets, by the way, are intentionally intentionally rigged to make people get emotional responses. Those emotional responses themselves are predictable. Those predictable responses themselves could have been modeled on AI systems. I'm talking about simplistic ones, not major supercomputers, just fairly fairly large server farms with large processing power on basically parallel processing of mining of not mining farms of computer farms of processing data, big data analytics, that kind of thing, right? Things we know exist. Never mind the stuff that we don't know exists, that we do know exists, if you know what I mean. And that includes quantum computers. Like, are we really as not far down the path as what they say they are? Anyway, let me drag this back into some sense right now. So these markets that they have, that every few years everyone's, oh, come on, everyone's up, yeah, making money. Everyone thinks they're doing so well, and some of the people don't sell at the top. What happens? They ride the market back down again. I was explaining this to one of my friends tonight. You can take $100 in the crypto market. I've done it myself, and make it into $1,000, or in my case, 10,000 or more. And then you'll ride it back down again because you haven't understood the market yet. It took me a few cycles to understand how this works, right? Now, the people who are the long-term gamers of the system, which is basically the creatures that control everything and that own everything, they can wait a lot longer. They can enter when they feel like it. They can watch everything crash down to the bottom, know it's going to recover, and then invest, right? For example, 2 days ago, Biden, just before he announced that Tesla were going to be having an easy ride of it because he was going to ban the XL Keystone pipeline. Great move, by the way. I can't stand Biden, but hey. Donald Trump, one of his first days, cancelled TTIP and TPPA. We all knew it was disgusting, it was horrible, it was evil. He cancelled it. Did that mean he was a maverick? I don't think so. I think he just worked for the system. That's an easy win there. We all know it's evil. Let's give the dog a bone. And that's what happened this time too. Biden gave the dog a bone. He gave the dog a bone in the form of something that should have happened decades ago, which is let's help renewable energies move forward, because if you've seen a Rimac versus a Lamborghini, you'll know that if that's suppressed technology and it can kick a Lamborghini's ass, then we've been living like a bunch of suckers. Oh, but hang on, man, you can't beat the sound of a V8 or a V10. Well, that's like a child, honestly. If you really think about that, because I'm a petrol head. I'm a gearhead, motorhead, whatever you want to call it, whatever country you're in. Now, if you were getting your rocks off and getting a hard-on over 1,000 horsepower, or even just 600 horsepower, some of the cars I drove that were fucking sick to drive, like 300 horsepower is actually still fast. You know what I mean? 500 horsepower, very fast. 600 horsepower, you're like, whoa. I've got none of these videos on YouTube, and I can't be bothered uploading them, but I've been in a lot of these cars, 600, 800 horsepower. It's a lot of fun. But these new electric cars, you're talking 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 horsepower. This is insane. Instant torque. The torque curve is totally different. It's like this instead of like this, like the old cars, right? I'm going to charge some battery in here, right? So basically what I'm saying here is Nancy Pelosi came along and invested God knows how many of her $1/5 of $1 billion that she has to her and her husband's name. That's what you get for being a congresswoman. Strange, isn't it? Politics makes you so much money. No, it was her husband. You're just gaslighting, whatever. So she came along and invested in Tesla 1 hour before Biden said that he's going to cancel the XL Keystone Pipeline. And that he's also going to make a new rule that all cars need to be electric powered. Well, that's funny because if you look through my history on the internet from 2006, the year that I launched tradefree.org and tradefree.net.nz, hopefully there still is some remnants in the internet there. I put a placeholder because my site didn't get launched to compete with TradeMe and eBay until 2007. I put a placeholder in 2006 to say that why the fuck is New Zealand not, because they don't have a market creating cars anymore, why don't they just make a statement from next year, New Zealand doesn't create any cars or car parts, is going to stipulate that any car sold in this country has to be renewable energy. And you know why I said that? Because Maverick, the Mitsubishi Maverick cars that they did for the rally were 800 horsepower. This is back in 2006. The technology was there, okay, the battery technology wasn't great, but it was still kicking the ass off the pants of these petrol engines at the time, which were probably doing a 600 to 700 horsepower fuel-powered car with nowhere near the same torque range that these things were having. So even if you had a 1,000 horsepower car, it could not compete with these 800 horsepower machines. But they wouldn't do it. And I knew people in politics, and I still do. And it didn't make any difference because they weren't going to do it. You know why? Because that's why. They're all controlled. They would never, ever come up with an idea back then that would say that, because if they did that, New Zealand would have spawned an idea that the rest of the world would have said, hang on, why don't we have this? If they've got these excellent cars in their country, because this is what would have happened, right? If you had stipulated back in 2006 that from next year, not 20 years, that's what I said at the time, not 5 years, not 10 years, not 20 years, next year, you cannot sell a petrol running car in New Zealand. You can still sell a diesel truck for a while. That'll have to move to electric in 4 years' time. But from next year, it has to be electric car. Yeah, you might get cars might move it. Car companies might move it. Car sellers might move out of the country, right? That doesn't really mean anything for business, because it just means that the same people are still requiring cars. They might move into second-hand cars. They might move into with the stock that they've got, reselling it. Maybe the price goes up. It might fluctuate for a while, but what will happen is the market will normalize, and then you'll end up saying, hang on, we want new cars. Mitsubishi, Chevrolet, Nissan are all going to sit there going, okay, let's just sit on the sidelines. No, they're not. They're going to take their cars in, the Leaf and all these companies that already existed. These cars already existed, by the way. The Chevy Volt and stuff like that. They would have taken them into that country. They would have made record sales because they're greedy. They can't help. They're not smart. They are privileged. They're given the privilege of making money. Like Elon Musk was given the privilege of becoming a billionaire. So was Jeff Bezos. He's not that smart. Jeff Bezos has not got a 4,000 IQ. He hasn't even got a 400 IQ or probably even a 200 IQ. Actually, I wouldn't even say he's got a 140 IQ. He's a guy who's in the right place at the right time, who's allowed to grow a business. End of story. Buying and selling is not that smart. He is not a fucking genius. And not many people are. Most ideas are recycled. But what you also have is congratulatory businesses where you basically enter a market that wants you to take control on purpose. For example, in China, Jack Ma and many other billionaires that went missing for 2 years or forever, or some came back and won and some never came back. These are people who were allowed to become billionaires, and then when they became billionaires, were reminded by the CCCP, sorry, that remember this: we're a communist country. You have no rights. We own you, right? Now, what's happening in the world right now is that everyone is being made to think that capitalism really exists, and the people who are really taking out the market are your Steve Jobs and your Jeff Bezos and your Elon Musk of the world. And reality is, they are fucking owned. They're allowed to become. Imagine this. Imagine if you go back in time and Mao Zedong and Emperor Hirohito and all these, I don't know, Genghis Khan, instead of being who they are with modern technology and marketing clout, they were a hologram. And that hologram was the person that everyone worshipped. And behind that hologram, there's a string of useless inbred fucks that were just sitting and living the lap of luxury, eating grapes, right? This is what we have now. What we're living in is this form of neo-feudalism that we have is a multi-leveled, it's like an MLM scheme, multi-level marketing scheme. But what it's marketing is neo-feudalism, kings, queens, modern day oligarchs of all kind of, it's like a modern day emperor, right? So it's a mixture, it's a hodgepodge of all these privileged beings that are, in most cases, genetically inferior because they've inbred, but definitely spiritually inferior. And what they're doing is they have control. Why? Because only cunts want to have control of other things and other people. The normal person goes through their life and says, you know what, I'd be really happy to control my life in a direction that I want to go in. And have you ever thought about controlling the guy next door? Well, no, because he's him and I'm me. But if you really think about it, what if you could control? Nigel, yes? Craig here's he's going up in the world, and he was thinking about maybe controlling. He's doing pretty well. Yeah, he's doing really well. I've seen his new Ferrari. And he's thinking about controlling your life. Oh, okay. Oh, well, on you go then. No, it's not going to happen. Only motherfuckers want to control other people's lives. But these people that we're allowing to control their lives, for example, the Anthony Fauci's of the world, people who are not that smart, they're not intelligent. Please don't fool yourself thinking these guys are on another level. They're not. They're dumb as fuck, but they're allowed to be at that level because they're a screen. Actually, that's a good. Matt from Quantum of Conscience calls it the screen, the system, the screen. I wonder if this is what he meant. They are the shadow puppet in front, the screen that's in front of you that divides the person shining the torch and making the animal figures at the back of the fucking screen. And you're at the other end of the cinema going, oh wow, man, look at that. That's probably what's going on. Well, it almost definitely is, because now we look at Wall Street panicking as losses top 70 billion, GameStop, right? And what that is basically saying we're not going to take your manipulation. Now, let me explain what I was trying to explain before, which is these market cycles are massive. They're like a whale going through the sea taking krill. Every now and then the whale goes down. All the krill breed slowly, and then they come up and they suck it all up. And that is the whales of this world, and that is the greedy fuckers, and they're not genetically superior to you. They're just people who were given the position of being between you and what's really in charge, right? But then all the time, even when these market cycles are not occurring, for example, when Obama bailed out and who was it again? I think it might have been still been Tony Blair. Who the hell was in charge when Obama got in power? I think it might have been still Tony Blair. It could have been David Cameron. But anyway, it could have been even Gordon Brown. They got paid out big time. The bankers got paid out big time for creating financial disaster, which lost people their homes, millions of people all around the world. They got given congratulatory billions from the people that they had ripped off and others who hadn't bought homes but were still being fucked anyway because of all the trickle-down effect that wasn't happening, right? So what's happening in the normal course of the world, whether markets are going down or up, is the day-to-day course of the market cycles are. And I've seen a guy in New Zealand, he taught me this years ago. Him and his wife had a company where they were, I think, to be honest with you, I think they were swingers, and they got attracted to me and my ex-wife, and they kind of wanted to show. They were showing us their company, and I went through. It was quite impressive actually, and they were showing us how. We didn't do anything with them, don't worry. I'm just saying, but they were showing us how. They were showing us candles. It's the first time I've seen candlesticks before. This is back in 2002, and they were showing us basically. The way he explained it was like the tide coming in, the tide going out. The tide comes in, even though these markets are only making like 1% here and there, the markets are predictable. It comes in as the tide goes down. You get these anomalies that happen where a sink happens, but overall, if you trade this consistent way, you end up making money, right? And that's before I learned anything about Fibonacci retracements or anything else that was the technical analysis in trading. This was just a simple way of making money off of who? All of humanity. And that's when you really learn what this is the predatory system starts, okay, at the people who are they call it old money, people who have owned stuff in India, the East India Trading Company, the great grandson of that guy, you know. But also people who are at the top, like actually I've got a friend, Adam, I'm just going to mention his name, he's a Jew guy in London who I know, a good dude, right? But his parents own Richer Sounds, heaps of them. Now, a lot of these families own these big companies. I'm thinking, fuck, you're not that smart a dude. I've spoken to you, you're not a smart a dude. It's like, huh. And I've met other guys in my life, and I'm like, you're not that intelligent. How the fuck did you... So I used to work with the Maxwell brothers, who are the brothers of Ghislaine Maxwell, right? How the fuck do you guys end up being so rich? And another guy, George Galliers Pratt, I was kind of friends with them, right? Hung out with them, had beers with them, right? Look up his family, you know. These are extremely wealthy people. How do they get the money? They're not that smart. I'll tell you right now, I've met so many of these people, and they are nowhere near as smart as, I'm not going to be so arrogant as to say me, I'm going to say you or you or you or you. They're not that smart. They were just given privilege. Now, and it's so fun when I look at this bullshit like white privilege and all this sort of crap. That's stuff that they put in because the level at the top looks at the level at the bottom and sees all these little peons, and they look at all this social dynamics and they think, what can we put into this social dynamic cesspool of shite? And they can engineer this stuff. And by the way, the engineering of this stuff, you would have to be some new kind of moron not to understand that they were using artificial intelligence and big data analytics to model this fuckery which is going on. Luckily, I have a lot of experience in that area, so I can see it quite easily. It's quite predictable what's going on right now. Now, going back to what's happened with this $70 billion today, with this GameStop shares, what they were trying to do was use the media like they always do. For example, a few days ago, Bitcoin crashed down. I can't show you because the phone I'm using to film it is on there. Okay, Bitcoin crashed down, and I'm helping a friend in Australasia trade right now, and he sent me these things. I said, please, dude, don't be that guy. I can't get you into crypto to have you do this thing what everyone does when I help them out in crypto, and they start giving me pathetic news memes effectively. And it's like, come on, dude, come on, you're above this. and that they haven't learned yet the whole world is rigged. And they especially haven't learned that the Bitcoin market, for example, if you look up a thing called the Bitcoin obituaries, and it shows the amount of times that Bitcoin died between 2009 and 2006, and then it also the Bitcoin obituaries 2 shows between 2007 and 2000 and fucking maybe 20, and it's hundreds of times. So it shows these things to show how ridiculous the media is, and how when these things come out, for example, a few days ago, it was told that Bitcoin, there was a double spend issue. Oh my God, everyone panic, everyone sell, fucking run for the hills. What, panic, sell your daughters, fucking rape your kids. I don't know. That comes from watching too many fucking Epstein videos. I don't know. But that's the thing, right? It was all fake. Everything was false. What it actually was an issue. It's a well-known issue called consensus fork. This is where, let me explain this in a nutshell, right? Pretend these are the only two miners in the world, right? These miners, when they mine a block of Bitcoin, they get to a certain block height and they solve the equation. And what ends up happening is everyone else in the network has to agree they solved the equation. If this guy solves the equation at the exact same time, what ends up happening is the propagation from both of these ends up going through the network until one gets more agreement in the network than the other. And then what happens is these coins exist because he had 51%. These coins don't exist. Now that can happen more than once. So from these coins existing, let's say it's coin A1. So coin A1 exists and it moves to another guy who thinks A1 exists. He doesn't know that B1 exists. And next thing you know, he mines block A2. And this can go to a secondary fork or a third or fourth, theoretically a fourth. So what ends up happening is at the second where this left chain here, the second stage of that gets recognized by more, this whole chain will collapse down like a Tetris block and become the actual block, the recognized blockchain, and this one will die. All that money you did was a big waste of time. Bitcoin is fucking genius. It still hasn't failed, and that is by design. And these things can have these stages where you actually have these mine blocks, which are, what's the word, validated, but they don't have full validation until you have full blockchain consensus, right? It's by design, it's perfect, it works. Enter Noob, who doesn't understand this. Noob comes along, oh, BusinessInsider.com and all these companies and CNN and all the other, all the other authorities in the space. They're not. So if you're an idiot, no, it's not. I don't want to say that. My friend's extremely smart. Okay, if you're new in the space, you want to understand that these guys don't know nothing. That means they must know something. They don't know anything about the space, so what ends up happening is, well, they might know about the space, and their job, because they're all part of the fake news, the propaganda media, their job is to help motherfuckers like the hedge funds who are betting on GameStop, to make you think that everything's going to go down. Because they've been paid to do it. And what happens? That job, that advertisement job, might have cost them 5 million. And they might net 100 million off of shorting those stocks. And what happens? When you short, I might say that stock costs $2. I'm going to short that. I'm going to open up a short contract. I'm going to say that basically it's going to be down to 160. It's going to move from $2 to 160. I'm going to put 50 billion trillion zillion on there because I'm such a piece of shit, greedy cunt, right? And what happens? A whole bunch of people come along on Twitter and say, you know what, fuck you, we can see you in the market. We're going to start buying that stock up. And they bought that stock up from that company worth well beyond, like Tesla. Tesla became worth well beyond, and many others did too, like Apple, well beyond what they were worth. That's why Elon Musk said at the time, this is too high, this is a bubble at the moment, this is not real. Because that was speculators doing things the other way. They want to long a trade. So what they do is they want to create some FUD, make people go short, they will go long, the shorts get wiped out, they make their money, they walk away rubbing their hands. Well, this time they got fucked 70 billion. And you know what happened? All the trading companies shut down their exchanges to help the cunts. What a surprise. Now, when Bybit and companies like that, like you think again, Bitfinex, for example, they're big. They're some of the real caught red-handed scoundrels of the industry. When they look at longs versus shorts, this basically means they're looking at. Imagine you have 10,000 traders, and 5,000 of them are trading against Bitcoin, and 5,000 of them are trading for. Then some news comes out, 1,000 shift because they saw the news, and you've got 6,000 going short, 4,000 going long. Do you know what happens then? The news was already tipped off to the people on the inside, so they're already ready there to manipulate that market to make sure that they do wash trading to bring the price up to wipe out the shorts. The shorts were expecting the price to go down. The exchange knew that the scam was in, and they pumped in false trades to make the market slide up again, and all the shorts get liquidated, meaning they lose all their funds. Because especially if you're leveraged trading, which by the way nowadays, if you're dumb enough to be trading on, look, I'm not going to say that Crypto Face isn't a smart guy. He is. Some of these guys are doing, Eric Crown, some of these guys are doing it very, very well. But if you're an average trader, if you're 99.97% of traders out there, you're going to get wiped the fuck out. Unless you're trading more like the way that I trade, and even then it's becoming really difficult, is to just simply trade, swing trade at low points. Don't get affected when things go back down when you're expecting them to go up. Oh, it was a low point, it's gone even lower. Oh, fuck. Just hold. Don't buy into shitcoin projects. I know I'm getting onto Bitcoin Roadshow stuff here, and I shouldn't be talking about it in this channel, but basically that's what it is. People need to be stronger minded. Well, these people, that's what they did. They got stronger minded and said, fuck you, we don't care this company's only worth 2 million, we're going to keep on investing it. Now it's, some guys had 700% profit on their investment, but they're not being pricks. They're still holding that investment. They're still driving it high. You know why? Because all these pieces of shit chumps that work in Wall Street, they're betting on it going down, and every second, every short is getting wiped out to the tune of billions, and it's fucking fantastic. But the system jumps into overdrive in the exact same way that the system does fucking nothing to hunt down the murderer or the rapist of your daughter, or the guy that fucking skinned your dog alive and fucking raped his corpse. Doesn't do anything, but then jumps into overdrive the second that someone in the system gets his car key. It's the same system. It's the same shit happening all the time. It's nothing different. Doesn't matter what country you're living in. Doesn't matter where the fuck you are. It's all the same system, fucking you sideways, fucking you in the ass, in the nostril, in the ear. Well, you can't take it anymore. Again. We have to fuck you more. That's what's always happening. The system is a complete cunt. People are slowly learning that. I was never going to martyr myself. I always said this fucking years ago, because people are too fucking dumb and people are too disgusting for me to fight over. I'm not going to do that. But the second that half of humanity wake up, yeah, I'll be there. Anywho, it's just glorious to watch this all going on. I really hope we see a lot more of this. We've been watching this happen in reverse for the past, well, as long as the Rothschild family had split up into little factions and went all around the world promoting war. As long as they went round the world making money on both sides of the coin. So, for example, when the Mountbatten family of England, which is the royal family, now called the Windsors, by the way, because they changed their name because they're a bunch of Nazis, because they're a Germanic tribe of racists. Because what do you call someone that thinks that they're genetically superior to the rest of the world? I'm from royal blood. Woo! Inbred ears and all that sort of stuff, you know what I mean? Or except in the case of Prince Harry, because his dad is not one of those. His dad's was just some random guy. Or in the case of years ago after the Plantagenets, when the son of an archer became the was it not Mary? Look up Baldric, not Baldric. His name is the guy that played Baldric on Blackadder. His name is Tony Robinson. If you put in Tony Robinson, real King of England, you will see a BBC documentary, which is something that you don't see very often that tells the truth. There was one in the 80s that told the truth about Scottish oil, for example. BBC does occasionally pull out these little anomalies, and that is one that will surprise you. Basically, the real King of England lives in Australia, but it doesn't mean anything anyway. You know why? Because all these kings are thieves of the past, and now what we have are thieves of the current day, and they're being screwed, and the system doesn't like it. It cannot handle it. When you give the same treatment to the people, like Julian Assange learned the hard way, when you give the same treatment, exposure, look, here you go, this is what it is, what's going on here. But hang on, that's actually true this time. Oh, you can't handle that. Oh well. Jail! Lock him up. That's what you get. You get met with, and then you get met with half the horde and mob of effective retards, because most of humanity are, I believe. Look, if you're under 100 IQ in my book, you're retarded, right? And that's not saying that you're evil, but it's saying that you're very susceptible to evil if you've got anything under 120 IQ. You have to be careful. Look around you. Put more effort into who you trust. If you have an IQ that low, you need to really just, pause, think. Am I being used? Am I actually that smart? Is what am I doing right now, is it linked to ego? If it is, I can't be as smart as I thought I was, because it must mean that small things please me. It must mean that I'm really driven by this pathetic emotional gratitude. Congratulations, or whatever it is. Anyway, I won't go too far now. I have been drinking a bit tonight, but I think it's really, really funny. Har har, ho ho, tee hee, and snigger snigger. The motherfuckers of the world deserve to go down. I don't believe it's going to happen, but I do like to see them suffer on the way down, as what I think is kind of happening. I also feel this is actually a pretty good year. I don't know about you out there. I feel that this I feel good. Yeah, I'll leave it with that. But yeah, this is the Bitcoin Roadshow. I've been Craig. You've been, well, you, I suppose.